Hello, hello. This is Kim Ades from Frame of Mind Coaching, and you have just joined the Frame of Mind Coaching podcast. Today I have a very special guest. It's a gentleman that I've known for a long, long time. We worked together. He was a client of mine, and then he went off and running. And so it is my absolute pleasure to reconnect with him today. His name is Andrew Pollard. He's someone who I hold dear in my heart, and I am so excited to be catching up with him today. Andrew, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Kim. So excited to be here. I really appreciate the invitation.
So you are in Venice Beach, California.
Yes, I am.
But
Isolating myself at the beach, very
yeah,
typical.
but when we met, if I remember correctly, you were actually couch surfing.
Yeah. Wow, that was a long time. Yes, New York. Doing the couch surfing in New York. It was
Yeah. So
challenging time.
so can we just share with people how we connected? And I just want to share people a little bit of our journey together, and then I want to take a sharp right turn and bring them to your life today.
Yeah, please share. Tell me.
So
Reminisce.
do you remember what things were like way back then? Can you just fill us in?
Yeah, I mean, there was so many ups and downs. So I think I experienced probably one of the most or the pinnacles of my life and career, and the lowest and the kind of like the most challenging time of my life as well. And I think that was all within a couple of years. So it was going through a breakup after 8.5 years with someone who I care for dearly. And today is one of my dearest friends, was at my wedding, made my beautiful wife's wedding dress actually. So
Wow.
yeah, so kudos to you for allowing me to to kind of build those kind of relationships. And then moments where I was at the top of my career, top of my game, made the most money I've ever made in a year, and notoriety and access and all those great things. And, obviously came to a realization that that's not really what makes you happy. But yeah, that was many, many moons ago, and then a lot of new adventures. And what I say is like new chapters in the book have happened along the way.
So very quickly, I want to kind of give you a bit of an update. One of the things that I did with you as you kind of went along with your journey is you were leading a team of people with an organization that produced trade shows in the fashion industry. And I did some work with that team. I still am very much in contact with a lot of those team members. In fact, I train them in coaching. Two of your team members are
Yeah.
still very, very much connected to me. So that was fun, and it continues to be fun. So I mean, it's been a lot of years. We did a few good years of work together. And, first of all, one of the things we would work on is like finding the love of your life. Right? Like that was like a
Tick that
background
box.
story, right? And I was always kind of excited to hear about your relationships, and always encouraging you to kind of work towards relationships that were healthy. And I'm like so excited that you are now married. You got married 8 weeks ago, and really in the thick of the whole COVID crisis. What was that like? Who is this person anyway who has managed to win your heart? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, firstly, the wedding was the most, I mean, the most incredible week of my entire life. It was very small. It was in Mexico, but the interesting thing about it was there was probably 10 different groups of people that had never met each other. My family, her families, both of our parents are divorced. Her father's in Montana, her mother's in Oklahoma, her sister's in New York, all came together, and groups of friends of mine from Europe, from Montreal, from New York, LA, Vancouver. And the one thing and it was like the most surreal thing for me, because I got to experience my friends' experience of my wedding. And they're all mad at me because they said, we've known you for so long, how come we've never met these people?
Mm-hmm.
And, it was an interesting kind of recognition for me that I have all these different friends and relationships from all around the world. And I put them into one kind of bucket, and it really created the most rewarding experience for me. So lots of highs, lots of excitement, very emotional. Like I couldn't stop crying on the day. I was just in tears all day long. It was hilarious. I was more like the bride than my wife. She looked beautiful, and it was a very I think for me it was the first time in my life that I had surrendered to like fully committing to someone, and you know a lot about that with me, and I really pay tribute to her and the kind of person she is. She's very much into exploring and growing in her life, and we've created this incredible partnership, and it's very honest and very vulnerable. It's very messy, but it's very safe. And I think that's a really unique thing about our relationship. And she's in it for all the highs and the lows, and she's got my back. And I think the important thing for me that I've realized through that experience was how much I was willing to be honest with myself, and to let go of, or to recognize that I have so many of these fears, and a lot of them are just, kind of stories, and what does that mean? And I got to be really me with someone who accepts me for who I am, and I accept her for who she is. And it's really rewarding.
I'm sitting here like clapping my hands, excited. So you started a company, and yes. I really want to talk about that because I've had an interesting experience with some of the people on your team actually yesterday. But share with me a little bit about, first of all, okay, it's a leather jacket company, but the name of the company is LTR or LTH JKT. So how do we say the name of your company?
Just like that, or leather jacket.
Jacket.
It's interesting because it really has nothing to do with a leather jacket company. It just happens to be I'm in fashion, or I've spent a lot of time in fashion, and there was an opportunity in the market to create a luxury product like a leather jacket and disrupt it by bringing it into the world at an incredibly low price. And we have partnerships with our factories, and we're able to really hack the system operationally. But that wasn't the motivation for me. I'd worked in large companies, I'd started companies, I'd exited a company, and I'd failed in many companies that I'd started. And I wanted to create what I call a learning organization, a company where executives can become entrepreneurs, where I could actually be part of a system that could reproduce itself, that the core fundamentals of the company was about learning. And as you know, the best way to learn is to teach. So the fundamental of the company was to find people who could then teach things to others, mentor or coach. And in that process, they learn themselves. The best ideas, I attracted lots and lots of amazing people, and so many people are abused in their companies. And it's quite violent in many companies, and they're rewarded for their results, and they're punished for their failures. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to create it where people could actually have real ownership in a company. They could fail a lot, and they could build these strong cultural relationships. Best ideas, but when people have that environment, it's very messy. Lots of breakdowns. People realize that they actually don't want to be in that kind of environment. They would prefer to be told what to do.
So not everyone's caught up.
No, I mean, I have 4 business partners, three business partners in the business, but there's probably been 10 people, 12 people that have come through who, with the opportunity to be equity partners, haven't survived because it's really hard. Like, you have to literally face yourself in the mirror every day and go, how am I causing this? How am I contributing to that person freaking out, or that jacket coming in damaged? How did I participate? What am I doing there?
So it sounds like what you're doing is you're really creating a company where people take responsibility and
Yes.
where people hold themselves accountable, where it's not about you holding them accountable, but it's about them truly showing up in an accountable way.
Yes.
So I just want to pause because
Please.
for me, what you're doing as a leader is the type of leadership that I have always dreamed of building in others, right? So when I talk about leadership, you're describing, in a sense, like the epitome of a leadership point of view that is so radical, so out there, not a lot of people can embrace it. So when you say, yeah, go ahead and fail, I can imagine that those people who are listening to this podcast are kind of sitting there going, what are you talking about? How do you just let people fail? Like, that's too risky, that's too costly. Like, I don't want to do that. What's your reaction to that?
It's not for the faint of heart. Um, it, but when you get over the fear, or you surrender to it, because I don't think you ever get over it. When you see people going off a cliff and it's my checkbook, it's really scary. But when you connect with it, and you know, thankfully to people like you and mentors in my life that have imparted so much amazing knowledge, you start to, although it's scary, there's a foundation of solidness that you have. And really, I get to experience myself through that. I get to see the limitations of where I am. And I ask myself, like, well, how did I set this up? Or what do I really want? Like, what kind of world do I want to live in? What kind of life do I want to have? And the irony is the fear turns into motivation. And I just am so like jacked every day to go in and kind of like experience this. Like, we're in a crisis right now. Our company is literally out of business. On a balance sheet, like, my business is done. And you know, I wake up and I'm going, what am I going to do? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually exactly where I want to be, because I love solving problems. And this is a problem. I don't know if I can solve it. But I'll do everything I possibly can to innovate the situation. And I know whether the business survives or doesn't survive, it's going to give me an experience that I know is going to be, that's fundamentally going to change my life.
So I had an opportunity to talk to a good chunk of your team yesterday. And it was a fascinating experience because while they are all kind of experiencing a sense of uncertainty, they talked a little bit about being rudderless, kind of kind of not knowing what's going to happen next. They also talked about this really high level of commitment to the brand, you know, but I think that's code word for each other.
Yep.
And I was kind of blown away by that level of commitment. So what have you put in place that causes this team of people? And I want to get it, like, I want to kind of stay away for a moment from your current strategy, because I want to come up with that in a minute. But what have you put in place that causes this group of people to be so connected and committed to one another?
Yeah, well, it's a really good question, and I try to unpack it a lot. The first thing, and this is the hardest thing, you have to find the right people, the people who actually want this in their life. I mean, I think you know this about me, but part of a discipline that I've had for 15 years is I go out and I meet 3 to 4 new people a week. And it's like, I used to go and search it, now it comes to me. So I'm constantly meeting new people because it's a way of me really getting to know myself better through others and so on and so forth. And I share the same thing over and over, and people love what I say. And I say to them, be careful, because it's a double-edged sword. Like, you have this freedom, but do you really want to look at yourself in the mirror every day and expose all those things? Most people don't. So finding the right people is key. Then creating an environment that is fundamentally safe. Because the most important thing, I believe, is getting people to be honest with themselves. The only way to do that is through vulnerability. And it's step by step by step. And I think when you be it, so it starts with me, then it resonates, it becomes like a cultural norm. And then the next leader does it. And every time someone comes in, people mimic. They're like, oh, well, she's really honest and he's really honest and he's able to fail. And then we have things like feeling meetings where once a week you could just dump your shit. And I know what, you've always said this, like you just want to dump the dump, right? There's that opportunity. But the hardest thing, Kim, is creating accountabilities. And that's where, like, the hardest thing with people, particularly high performing people, is breaking their pride. And, in my opinion, people's pride is this image of themselves. And they keep seeing this image of themselves. And what I try to do is to break that so they can see actually where they are and the reality of where they are and what they can do and what they can't do.
So I want to slow you down.
Yeah.
Slow you down. Isn't pride important? Or do you think pride just gets in the way? Isn't it important that people like feel good about themselves, feel proud of who they are, feel proud of their capacities and talents? And doesn't pride actually help someone take some level of action?
Well, there's a difference between pride and being proud of yourself, right? So having pride within terms of your accomplishments and what you do is one thing. The pride I'm talking about is more like the egotistical side of yourself.
Ego.
Yeah. So
by that, do you mean self-protection?
Yes, exactly what I mean. Exactly what I mean. And the problem is that I think that people have been overdosed throughout their career on high levels of esteem, meaning acceptance, people telling them. So they're kind of addicted to people being acknowledged, being recognized, being accepted. And we don't have high levels of self-esteem, meaning that they look at themselves and they could see in reality, oh, I've earned that, or I haven't earned that. And it's a big difference. And I spent my entire life looking for acceptance in everywhere, and I got a lot of it. And it really is a disadvantage because getting things for free doesn't help you. Because it's like an athlete getting a position in a world-class team because his dad or he knew someone, he gets on the team. But when you're on the team, you're not protected. You're going to get smashed. Mm-hmm. And being an entrepreneur is different from being an employee. You're going to get reality where you're going to get completely whacked. And it's really uncomfortable. And pride, that kind of pride or ego, it doesn't work. It's a hindrance.
So I want to just discuss this whole idea of finding people. And you meet 3 to 4 people a week. You have similar conversations. And are you having these meetings in order to, is that part of your recruiting process or is that part of your life process? Like, that's a lot of time.
Yeah, it's both. I don't really, it's kind of integrated inside me now. So I'm fundamentally, I'm interested in people. But I'm also really interested in my own experience of life. I'm a walking experiment. Like I'm always introspecting and going, wow, that was interesting that I reacted that way. Or, I'll be surfing and I'll be like, oh my God, like that's so interesting about me. And people allow you to see a different side of yourself. And the effect of that is I get lots of opportunities. I have way too many opportunities to deal with. It sometimes paralyzes me. And I really, I can actually affect change in people's lives if they want it. And that feels very purposeful for me as well. And ultimately, my core belief or my core thing that drives me is I want to grow, and the best way to grow is to solve problems. And if you can solve solve problems with people who also have similar values, it's just an unbelievable experience. Now, business is an amazing thing to solve, a problem to solve. So I spend a lot of time on that. But, you know, going into the second phase of my life, I want to solve different types of problems as well. But you need evolved people to solve big, complex problems. Emotionally
So how do you screen for fit? I mean, it's a practical question on one level, like really tangible, practical. But then on another level, it's really not. It's kind of ethereal to some degree.
Well, it's easy. It's very simple. It's called adversity. The levels of adversity is the kind of the valve, but you really see how people are when they're faced with adversity. So putting enough adversity on people that is also, it's non-violent, and you know, you get to see how they react.
So give me an example of that, like pre-COVID.
So, well, you find out, well, what people, what they really want, right? So if, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. Okay, well, do you really want to be an entrepreneur? Okay, so what's the foundation of entrepreneur is that, okay, well, you know, you're giving up, you're putting a lot on the line. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you want to be an entrepreneur, you know, what are you willing to give up? Like, are you prepared to put money into this? Are you prepared to not take any money? Are you prepared to work a second job? Like one of my business, I'll give you an example. One of my business partners you met, the girl who started with me, she really wanted to be an entrepreneur, and it's not words. She was like, she needed to work 60 hours a week in the business to start it, but she needed to, and we had no money. So what was she prepared to, how was she going to survive? Okay, well, I'm going to go clean people's homes a couple of times a week to make enough money to pay my rent so I can do this. That's adversity. That's that kind of person, like, I want in my life forever. Mm-hmm. I don't care what the business is. I want her. And she's been with me for 4 years in this business and in previous. So like, I'm never, like, I never not want that relationship. Mm-hmm. So those are examples. I mean, what are you prepared to do for that? And they also need to see that, what are you prepared to do? What are you prepared to give up?
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So you mentioned before your businesses, as you know it, has pretty much come to a grinding halt. And you know what caused me to reach out to you was an email that I saw that you wrote to everybody in your database. And obviously I'm on your database. And that email said basically, look, you know, things have changed. People aren't really buying luxury leather jackets right now, but I am committed to my team. And so I invite you to come to our website, choose a jacket, and make an offer. And all of the money that we collect from your offers will go directly to my team. Did I get it? Did I say that right?
Yep, absolutely.
So like, that's a pretty extraordinary offer and a pretty extraordinary position. Tell me where that comes from. Like, what is that about? And do you think that's going to be enough to kind of keep people going for a bit? And are people bidding?
Well, so two things. How did it come about? It came about when I had my own realization through a bunch of anxiety and fear that this business, so we shipped the most jackets ever a month before this crisis. And our second full year last year, we were 5% profitable. We worked so hard with low expenses to get there. We were on a trajectory to more than double our business and be highly profitable this year. And it was the first time that we were like, oh my God, we can see the light, that this could really be something we thought it could be. COVID came, destroyed the whole thing. Unfortunately, our business really went traditional and became very wholesale driven, and we started off not that way. So we were owed more money than we owe, but we had less money in the bank than we owe. We took on debt because we could, and all of a sudden now, like, someone could turn the switch and like we're out of business. So realizing that our current business could not survive the way it is, we have to change it. I don't know what that change is today, but we had committed to these people, had left big jobs, big paying jobs to come and be entrepreneurs. They don't have jobs to go back to. Going on unemployment, yeah, they'll get money, but there's also, it's more than the money. It's like they're not doing anything. People are at home, like in boredom and emotional upheaval. They need to be solving problems. So for me, it was all about the staff. It was like, these people committed to me. I've got to find a way to keep them going. This came, and I asked myself, how do I do that? And this came to me. I was like, okay, well, what if we just give all that to them? I wrote that letter and found a way of, like, it was very difficult for me to ask people for help in a way. Mm-hmm. We put it out there. It's been incredible. Within 3 days, we generated enough sales to cover the first month's salary of all of our staff.
Wow.
So now what our goal is to create 6 months worth of salary. And when I say salary, it's not their full salary. It's enough for their basic needs. And they're all getting paid the same. Doesn't matter what level you are. And it's evolved to a place now where, okay, let's get them 6 months, but what else can we do? And then the next phase, which we haven't released, is, well, what if we actually could create new jobs? What if we could offer people who have lost their jobs, who are really smart and are really motivated, what if we can actually give them jobs? So our goal was to raise $250,000 to cover 6 months worth of salary of, it's about 10, 12 people, direct staff and indirect staff. Well, what if we can employ another 10 people and raise another $250,000? Again, 100% going to these people. So the next $500,000, which is a huge amount of money for us, mm-hmm. doesn't go to any part of the business, it goes to people. But here's the kick. So many companies right now are protecting themselves. They're trying to shore up their business, but it's going, in my opinion, it's going to just kick the can down the road a little bit, and inevitably they're going to go under. Mm-hmm. The only way that I believe we can survive is through people. Bringing people in who think differently than us, who can reassess our business, that are motivated, that feel grateful, and it's a perfect exchange. So I believe that we will find a way out of this through the people that actually come in. So although it feels good.
Counterintuitive.
Right, it's counterintuitive, and it feels like it's the right thing to do for people, like we're giving, but really, I believe it's the solution to actually pivoting a business and finding a different opportunity coming out of this.
So for whoever's listening to this, what you're not only hearing is one entrepreneur's way of making sense of this, you're also hearing from someone who sees the world so wildly different than the norm. Someone who sees the adversity and tries to figure out not how to protect themselves from it, but what to do with it. And that is the essence of what we call emotional resilience. That is it. You just described it in a nutshell. So how do people find your leather jackets, and how do people go and bid for them?
Just go online, LTHJKT.com, or catch us on Instagram, or reach out to me personally. Whatever.
What's your email address?
Andrew@LTHJKT.com. Yeah, you want to contribute. I mean, I've had such an outpouring of people who want to help. And it's so crazy, Kim, where, I was in one of the most vulnerable places in my life a couple of weeks ago, like high as high, getting married, coming back to, like, my business is gone, mm-hmm. And stuck at home, couldn't do anything, to now, like, having conversations like this with people who, okay, let's roll up the sleeves. What can we do? So I've thrown all the rules out, and I'm looking for people who want to work, who want to grow, and who want to fail, and to build something that's different. And I really believe that, that we're in this moment where most companies, whether it's authentic or not, are talking about sustainability, environmentally sustainable. And most people don't really know what that is. It's a buzzword. I believe in sustainable cultures. How can you create a culture where your people are sustainable, where they can be self-reliant? And that, for me, is the essence of the company of tomorrow. Sustainable cultures. And that's what really people before profits is. It's not a charity. It's not giving people anything for free. It's helping them earn what's rightfully theirs. And that gives them a high level of self-esteem. It gives them so many more options. And at the end of the day, you get more of what they want in their life, but it's messy and it's uncomfortable.
So you said messy a whole bunch of times. And I think I'm gonna ask you this as my final question. I know you have a lot of women in your organization too. And I know you have a lot of emotions in there. How do you, Andrew, how do you deal with the mess? How do you deal with the emotions? How do you deal with the volatility, the vulnerability, the fears, the anxiety, all that? How do you stay relatively calm and stable in the face of the mess?
It's a really good question. I go back to I believe purpose is everything in life, and getting really clear on what your purpose is. And one of the values or the skills I want to learn in my life, because I see such value in it, is patience. And I don't have a lot of it. This gives me...
You're fooling us.
It really gives me the opportunity to learn that. I mean, internally, it's a fire. Like when a whole bunch of, my staff, and like I said, predominantly women, like lose their shit, so to speak. It really like affects me. But I've committed to not reacting and really thinking it through. So it's allowed me to take that fire and not suppress it, but unpack it, and be patient and humble in that approach, and let them get it out. And once they get it out, you give them some feedback. They generally come back with the most amazing ideas, and steps to move forward. So the process is messy, but the results are incredible.
So do you think sorry, I have more questions.
Please.
Do you think that process is documentable?
Yes, I really do.
Maybe we can do another podcast and we can talk about that.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, we try to document a lot of it, but it's hard when you're in it too. Like, it's funny. I know a lot of my team says that I act as the coach. I'm not really a coach. Like, you're a coach. I mentor. I try to help people learn how to learn. But I see the way that you coach, and you're incredibly empathetic, and you really care. And I care for sure, but I'm an entrepreneur, and I care about people, but I have a clear process to run. And when I say it's just really uncomfortable, and people I really truly believe in companies of the future. People like yourself will become absolutely essential in companies, because it's safer to kind of talk openly with you than it is to me. I'm so vested in it. So yeah, we will definitely, it'll come full circle, I know.
So there are two things I want to say. Number one is I actually am not empathetic. In fact, it's something I teach my coaches, is that empathy in leadership is really, really dangerous. And let me kind of describe it to you, because we've never actually spoken about this.
Yeah.
What is empathy? Empathy is stepping into another person's shoes and feeling their emotional state. So when someone is drowning, if I step into their shoes, then I feel what it's like to drown. And as I am doing that, I immediately disable myself from being able to be helpful. So I don't want to encourage leaders to be empathetic. I want them not to step into the pool and start drowning right beside the other person who's drowning. I want them to have compassion. I want them to see someone's drowning and I want them to lean in and pull them out. That's very different from empathy. Compassion requires a sense of strength. Compassion requires the ability to envision this person safely out of the pool. So that's a very important distinction, and that's what I teach leaders and coaches to do. But I want to say one more thing. I discovered yesterday with your team that you make them journal.
Yeah. Well, I don't make them journal. I suggest that this is a great tool that I've used in the past to, because I journal every day. Like I mean, for years.
Way to go.
Yeah. It's the only way I unpack my day. It's like a persistency.
So I sat there like feeling very pleased with you that you brought this into your company. How do you get everybody to journal? Like, I mean, do you give them journaling questions, prompts? Is it an open journal? Do you share the journal? How does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, in this case, I mean, I've always used it as a tool that you've taught me. I think it's fundamentally one of the, if you want to grow in life, you need to figure out how to be self-reliant. Journaling helps you unpack your thoughts, your feelings. So what we did when this crisis hit was said, let's just get it out. Like this is going to be something that's unprecedented. Like we'll all be isolated. It's scary. The fact that we're not going to be together every day, let's find a way to be together. So let's just journal your thoughts. And I gave them, we just literally, it was a Google document, and everybody just put their name and how they're feeling. And after a few days, I would go read them, and then I would find little things in there, and I would ask questions. And so it gives them more fodder, I suppose, to go deeper and journal. And they kept it up. And then it's not every day, it's every other day. And it's funny, one of the youngest members of the team really is so inspiring to all of us because she just really put it out there. Her parents are on the front line and she's they're not in this city and she's finishing school. And it was just so beautiful in her messiness that it was very inspiring. And then I've gone through pages of this stuff and pulled out quotes and presented it back to them, not knowing whose quote is what, but it's in talking about documenting. Here's a documentation of people's feelings in real time, of how they're dealing with this professionally, personally, their own health, their own mortality, all of these things. And it's just human.
I think that is going to be very valuable down the road. But in case you're looking for a slightly more elegant journaling software, Journal Engine, guys. A lot of coaches are using the software to have their own clients journal with them, but perhaps some leaders can tune into that too. Andrew, it's been awesome, just amazing talking to you, catching up, hearing your view of the world. Always interesting, makes me think, inspiring, but also a lot of fun. So thank you for spending this time with me and reconnecting and sharing your story with everybody. It's been really great. How do people find you again? One more time.
Andrew at LTHJKT.com, or you can Instagram. I think it's Andrew J. Pollard on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. LinkedIn's always a good one. Or through you.
Through me. I can send you his way.
Yeah, please. I'm always happy to hear from people. Lots of feedback. I'm a big feedback guy. Loved what you said. I don't agree with what you said, or, so it's all that. And thank you to you. I mean, I've had a huge influence on my life, and just giving me the opportunity to kind of speak today is a huge thrill and such an honor.
Until we speak again.
Yes.